Any questions? Or are you going to set me off free? Hey, that's my class. Oh, we went to Monash together, Zeus. Or what do they call you these days? That was like a cool name.
Oh, wow. First and foremost, I did want to highlight the fact that I'm so proud to see you up there. She was a senior when I was studying undergrad. I was at a year or two ahead of me, I think. So, yeah, I'm
I'm
amazed
not
to see
that
you.
old.
No. Hey, I'm not that old, too, so we're both not that old. Um, I take a lot of interest in what you say about regional integration. I think obviously this network is such a great platform to do that, you know. Yesterday we had a very interesting fire debate here about whether Africa can fund itself. The conversation continued on and on and on. And one of the things that I think I was a bit disheartened by was touches on what you mentioned about how we need to stop looking for top-down solutions and start seeing our impact and the potential that we have to shake things up from the bottom up. You know, so I don't know, maybe I'm looking for a piece of advice from you. What do you think should be our game plan, you know, going forward in terms of simple, actionable steps that we take from here? You know, I think there could be some references that you might have as well or that are among us. But generally, I think it's hard sometimes to get away from that mindset that you were speaking, which is, you know, dealing with what's immediately around you. I think it's just human nature that we see our locality before we see the region or the globe. So, your thoughts on that?
Okay. So I presented a paper on African direct investment. It was 2 or 3 years ago. And what I was arguing in that paper is that we need to mobilize our private sector a little bit more and hold them more accountable. So what I would suggest really is finding ways to work with the private sector. What I would suggest is that you need to understand the skills of the people in your network. And I say that because I recently launched an African business forum. I had my first one, and I had Standard Bank as a sponsor and Anchor Capital from the UK. When I approached Anchor Capital and I'd written my business proposition, I was told point blank, they don't do things like this. But I had experience from working for Accenture, KPMG, and Deloitte, so I can write. What I'm trying to say is the solutions is you guys understanding the power in your network. If you're going to do something and you don't have a skill for it, you need to put your hand up. There's funders that I've been working with. I don't have a finance background, but I've got a team of 2 investment bankers that have done international transactions. So when I go to these funders and people come to me, my due diligence is done by that background team. You understand? So for me, for you to realize your potential is understanding in the different countries, continents, whose skills are what. You might be the greatest musician, but there's something that you're lacking to make your idea sustainable. There's another organization called Sustainable Development Network. They actually run like sustainable workshops in different forms, from how to do monitoring and evaluation for NGOs, how to fundraise. So they teach NGOs how to write all of this stuff. They teach you how to crowdfund and all of these things. Earlier on, I talked about great intellect, right? Expose yourself to those kind of environments, because then if you're running an NGO, people are not going to give you money unless you can show them the impact. Yes, I go to prisons and I talk to these men, but at some point I need to produce some sort of qualitative data that I can then go to funders and say, this is contributing to the rehabilitation of for the prisoners. You get what I mean? So understand, firstly, know thyself, and be honest. Say, I don't have these skills, and who has them in the network? And when I went to Ghana, I ended up being able to go to schools. I was on TV at some point, I was on radio, I was in newspapers, not because I asked for those things, because I have a network in that country that I didn't know I had. And all of a sudden I checked in and I'm like, I'm gonna be here, and then all these things started to unfold. So also utilize the network that you have. Check in. because they knew I had a love for kids, then they exposed me to that. So the solution starts with knowing thyself. The people around you must know what you stand for, because then it becomes easier for the opportunities to come. I can't ignore your hand, it's so... I love your dress, you look amazing.
Thank you. My name is Kolsile Twala and I'm from Swaziland. Thank you so much for speaking to us. I love your passion. I think what I noticed from yesterday, and I think maybe even today, I think we keep taking ourselves back. As Mandela Washington Fellows, we already doing stuff. We already warriors in there, pushing stuff. And I'm thinking if we keep going to say, okay, so where do we start?
Can I stop you?
Oh, sorry.
Can you repeat the warriors thing?
Okay.
And look at them and say it?
Oh, the passion.
Come. Like tell them, they're warriors.
Yes, as in we're already there, we warriors pushing stuff, changing Africa. So I'm saying we can't keep, and I know that even us fellows, we keep saying, so where do we start? We have started, we are pushing. What we should be saying is, how do we keep pushing? How do we keep changing Africa? And I noticed yesterday we keep saying, the leaders of Africa. Who are the leaders of Africa? We are. And if we keep saying that, oh, but the policy, who drafts the policy? Us, technicians. We draft and they endorse them. If we talk about our politicians, because I'm a senior manager that works in a local authority. If there's something that has to do with local economic development in Babane, in my city, I draft. And they just have to endorse it. I'm a technician. And if we're going to say, oh, but what are our leaders doing? What are we doing? Because I believe we are doing stuff. We are halfway there. We just have to say, how do we push it forward? We talked about funding Africa yesterday like nothing is happening. There are things that are already happening on the ground. There is Tony Elumelu who's funding Africans. What we should be saying is, what more can we do? Which is what I'm taking from you even today, to say, yes, there is so much more that we need to do. I shouldn't be thinking of the local economic development of Mbabane. I should be thinking Africa. What am I doing for Africa? Which is much more. And I think even in this conference, I'm just saying, can we take forward? Can we move forward? It's been a year since we've been back from the Mandela Washington Fellowship. I've done a lot of things, and I'm proud. And I'm sure you've done a lot of things. Should be proud. So how do we from here move forward? How do we from here get the Africa that we want? And Africa is there. We're moving forward. We're no longer the Africa that they are talking about, those who don't know our Africa. The Africa that we are in is moving forward. And that Africa is going to get there because we are not failures. We cannot be sitting there as Mandela Washington Fellowship fellows and be failures. We're not. So I think that's what I wanted to say thank you so much, and to say, let's push forward.
And you know, thank you so much for that. And in the speech, I talked about the dark moments, right? And I said, even I have them. And most leaders have dark moments, because imagine you're waking up, and when you articulate what you want to see, people laugh. When you're taking those steps and people are counting to you like, but you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do that, And life is saying to you, yes, I've got property, but that is not the ultimate thing. There's a bigger cause. So there will be dark moments, but it is not about those dark moments. And like I said, you must remember, and I believe in this, in your darkest moment, the sun makes the moon shine. So you must keep pushing forward, knowing that in that dark moment is when your vision becomes stronger. Thank you for reminding us that. The gentleman there with the...
Thank you so much. I'm Bartolomeo from Angola. And I congratulate you for the nice speech you did. So I'm actually eager to take a big role in my country when it comes to be a politician or something like that. But we're striving with the legal system, because I think the politicians, they have arranged everything to keep them in power for much, much longer than you can imagine. And there is no margin or a small just hole where you can go through and get there. And my question has been, how how can we actually overcome this barrier and get there? Because every time you stand up, every time you speak, especially we Mandela Fellows, we are always related to the US, to the West. This guy, he went to the US, now he's coming here, like he's being backed by the government of the United States to, to bring changes to Angola. And so you start facing many adversities in whatever step you want to take. Even to go to school, if you want to actually upgrade your studies, they will come with a lot of, excuse and tell you you do not qualify. And so this is one thing we have to consider, because I believe many of us here, we are really willing to do many things in our countries, but we are also facing many challenges. And we have to sit down and consider all these challenges and bring up or come up with a platform of solutions. For instance, if I'm facing difficulties in Angola, because for me to become a politician, I have to, if you want to become a president, I have to have a party or be part of an existing party. And that's not easy, I can tell you. You have to go through many, and I've been like, what do? I've established an NGO. That was my first step. Despite of the constraints I faced to establish an NGO, because they also reinforced the legal system. And that is where the problem is. The legal framework, the legal systems in our countries are not easy for any of us. So please give me an insight on how do I manage to overcome this. Thank you so much.
Hello, can you hear me? What's your name? What's your name? Bartholomew. Milton. Okay. What does Bartholomew mean? Because it sounds very... What does it mean? No, it sounds like a powerful name. Jesus follower. So, thanks for your frankness. And, it takes a leader to stand up when you have been in such a program and say, but this is also the barriers that it's creating. The only way I can answer is to tell you my story, right? I am a product of an Australian university. I'm a product of what you would term Western companies, KPMG, Accenture. I was taken to the States, to Chicago, to Q Center to go learn about management consulting. I'm a product of KPMG. But when my parents put me on a plane to Australia, they said to me, they were simple. They said, go to the West and go get the intelligence and come home and serve your people. I speak in my country like a coconut English, which means that I should be rejected by the lower strata, if I may say so, of society, but they don't reject me. As a leader, people should feel your warmth. And because of your warmth, they forget that I went to Australia. They forget that I've worked for KPMG. I successfully advise people in government. And they don't say to me, I'm an agent of the West. You get what I mean? You need to find yourself as a leader. And when I said you need to win the hearts of people, people should see beyond the fact that you're from Angola. They should see beyond the fact that you're from, so it's self-mastery as well. You must also read the book, The Prince by Machiavelli. There's an invisible hand of influence and power in any society, in any organization. You need to understand that power. That is how you'll make it as a politician. You also need to understand that in any society, there are mentors and there are sponsors. The mentors are the people that you go to cry to in an organization and they know your weaknesses. The sponsors are the people that you present yourself as someone that is whole, that can lead, and that person has the power to say, Lebogang must be in this position and
people put you forward. That is how you'll get to those political spaces. And you must also understand that we're all human. If I come into an organization and I want to do women empowerment, for instance, and I go and I say, you useless men, you're all sitting here, where are the women? What's going to happen? They're not going to listen to me. You have an agenda that you're pushing. When I come into that company, I must first, one, prove that I can deliver. So you need to go to that political party, prove that you can deliver, make them fall in love with you. Remember what I said? Win the hearts. And then, all of a sudden, I raise up my little hand and I'm like, what about the women? I feel like we should have more women around this table. And as a matter of fact, I've been mentoring one. So as you stand up, you see that lady? That's my mentee. I take her everywhere that I go so that I can expose her. Because I need to get to a point where I don't have to come stand here, that she can come stand here. So as you build those behind you. You identify those that are going to take your vision forward. You understand? So that is how you get to that position. You don't go in there, even the opposition party. As a matter of fact, you should be in that party so that you understand them before you go open up your own. Julius Malema is hectic in South Africa because he studied the ANC before he went and said EFF. He knew their faults. The art of war. The art of war. You need to dance with the enemy before you take over.
Thank you so much for your speech. I'm Stephen Mayaman from a beautiful mountain kingdom called Lesotho. It so happened. It just so happened that yesterday I was on a plane with an honorable member of parliament from South Africa. And we had an interesting conversation because we happen to recycle prime ministers every 2 years in my country. And we were talking about regional integration. And he was talking about hostile takeover of South Africa taking Botswana, Swaziland, Lesotho, because they're small countries and they should all be part of South Africa. You can imagine how insulting that would be to an individual. But as I listened to him, he was echoing a lot of words and a lot of opinions that most South Africans do have. You happen to be South African. You're talking about regional integration. What is your perspective of regional integration and still observing sovereignties of each countries? Thank you.
I like his question because when I started, I said we need to absolve ourselves of the scars and the borders that were driven in 1855 at the Berlin Conference. And then he comes and he says to me, sovereignty of this country. Personally, I don't believe in borders, personally. And not borders of small African countries, big African countries. I believe in a total absolution of our borders because they're not real. You know, every country that I travel to, people think I'm from that region in Africa. When I was in Mauritius, they thought I was from Mauritius. When I was in Ethiopia, they thought. When I was in Kenya, when I was in Ghana, there's a tribe that I look like. When I'm on Channels TV in Nigeria, people say to me, oh, do you know this region of Nigeria? You understand? So I'm living proof that even the way we are as Africans, there is no borders. We're all Africans. My version of regional integration, for now, because the borders are there, there's reality. All I'm saying is let's see how we can build railway lines. For instance, South Africa is a dry country. Why can't we, Zimbabwe is it's got a lot of water. Why can't we use our railway lines to transport the water down to South Africa? That's what I'm saying when I talk about regional integration. If South Africa is a dry country and my neighbor has the resource, more than enough, why don't we just share? So it's finding those basic needs. Like I said, what is a basic need? Why is it that in Cape Town there should be water restrictions? I'm not saying yes, we must, play around with water and not, But all I'm saying is it's that level of integration that I'm talking about for now. Let's look at how do we make another person's life better and forget about that borders and forget about celebrating, let me not get into it, but I don't believe in borders at all. We're Africans. How many more questions? We're closing. Can I have one last question? And then I'll interact with you guys offline. I promise. I love people. I'll make time. People are my business.
Hello, my name is Joseph. I'm from Mauritius. Thank you for your speech. It was inspiring, and there's a lot of wisdom in what you said earlier. You have been citing Mauritius as an example, and you have been talking about intellect, the combination of academics and politics. Are you of the opinion that African universities are failing African leadership, and what kind of universities we need to have the leadership we want? So can we have your views on the academia and the political side?
So I'm on a spiritual journey myself, right? And when I went to Ghana, I went to Achimota School. Achimota's it's a school. I can't get emotional. I'm supposed to be speaking here. I get emotional at home, but that school has produced the most presidents on our continent, right? And people said to me, "Oh, go to where Kwame's been buried." And I was like, "No, I don't want to see a dead Kwame. No, I want to walk where he walked when he was alive and young and innocent and had a vision." So that's why I went to Achimota. And when you get to that school, you begin to understand why they've brought out presidents. And I'm telling you, right? Whatever it is you believe in, I'm not preaching Christianity, whatever it is you believe in, African spirituality, Buddhism, whatever it is, right? Do you know that school that they start with a spiritual place every morning? You understand? They're going to, before the students even touch their books, they've got a chapel. So whatever spirituality that you have, do that. Engage with that, because you need your spirit to be strong before you can become any type of leader. I walked down the school, right? And at some point, the students were on their floor, like this lady, they were on the floor, and like this. And the teacher came outside and said to them, "You are late for class. If you come late to my class, I won't let you in." And these kids never said a single word. Then they apologized afterwards. Then he said, "Okay, ladies and gentlemen, come into my class." And they stood up. You understand? You have to humble yourself as a leader. You have to be able to obey, to lead, and be corrected. So the kind of universities that we have on our continent, for me, should teach more than just books. They should teach those other life principles. We need that other side. Anybody, any Tom, Dick, and Harry can open up a book. But we need people to build us up, to know that as a leader, it's tough. Like even yesterday, someone sent me a message about me being a failure. And today I'm talking to you guys about leadership. Right? Did I listen to him? I deleted the WhatsApp. You understand what I mean? So for me, the universities that we need are great. I mentioned some of them: University of Zambia. Gordon Institute of Business Science, where I'm doing my PhD, is the top business school in Africa. I don't see anything wrong. We just need to get the spiritual part right. Whatever it is you believe in. Because once you've got that and you're strong in that, nothing can touch you. And also just the humility to obey and be led. Thank you, guys.